Greetings, and welcome back to Curiosities Obscura. Today, our journey of discovery takes us to the extraordinary case of United States F.R.D. Gerald Mayo v. Satan and his staff. But before we delve into the depths of this unusual topic, be sure to click the bell icon and subscribe to join our community of inquisitive minds. Let's start with the basics. The case, officially known as United States F.R.D. Gerald Mayo v. Satan and his staff, was filed in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. The plaintiff, Gerald Mayo, an inmate at Western Penitentiary in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, represented himself in this peculiar lawsuit. The case was assigned Miscellaneous number 5357 and was presided over by Judge Gerald J. Weber. The court rendered its decision on December 3, 1971. To fully appreciate the absurdity and intrigue of this case, we need a bit of background. The 1970s were a turbulent time in America. Social changes, political upheaval, and a growing awareness of civil rights issues created an environment where individuals were increasingly willing to challenge the status quo, even if that meant taking on the Prince of Darkness himself. Gerald Mayo was a 22-year-old inmate at the time he filed his lawsuit. Life in prison can be tough, and Mayo claimed that his suffering was due in part to the direct actions of Satan. That's right. Mayo alleged that the devil was personally responsible for his misery and various misfortunes. So what was the crux of Mayo's complaint? He claimed that Satan had caused him misery and unwarranted threats, and had deliberately placed obstacles in his path, leading to his downfall. Essentially, Mayo believed that Satan had deprived him of his constitutional rights through a series of malevolent actions. He sought relief from the court and asked to proceed in forma pauperis, which means he wanted to file the lawsuit without having to pay the associated fees due to his inability to afford them. Now let's dig into the specifics of Mayo's allegations. He accused Satan of causing him undue hardship and violating his civil rights. According to Mayo, the devil had orchestrated events that led to his suffering and imprisonment. The details were somewhat vague, but the essence was clear. Mayo held Satan accountable for his life's miseries. Imagine the scene: a courtroom filled with legal professionals, all gathered to hear a man argue that the source of his woes was none other than the devil. Mayo's allegations were undoubtedly colorful, adding a layer of surrealism to the proceedings. From a legal standpoint, Mayo based his claim on several statutes, including 18 U.S.C. Section 241, which deals with conspiracy against rights, 28 U.S.C. Section 1343, which covers civil rights and elective franchise violations, and 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, which provides a remedy for deprivation of civil rights. Essentially, Mayo was trying to use these laws to hold Satan accountable for violating his constitutional rights. However, there were significant hurdles to overcome. One major issue was jurisdiction. How could a U.S. court claim jurisdiction over a supernatural being? Additionally, there was the practical matter of serving process. Even if the court accepted the lawsuit, how on earth would they deliver the summons to Satan? Judge Gerald J. Weber faced a unique challenge. On one hand, the court had to take every case seriously, especially when a pro se litigant, meaning someone representing themselves, was involved. On the other hand, the very nature of this case presented significant legal and practical difficulties. Weber noted that the jurisdictional situation was unclear. While no official precedent existed for a case against Satan, Weber made a humorous reference to the 1936 short story The Devil and Daniel Webster by Stephen Vincent Benét, where the devil appeared in court. Weber suggested that if Satan were to appear, he might be estopped from arguing a lack of personal jurisdiction. In his memorandum order, Judge Weber addressed several key points. First, he questioned whether Mayo could obtain personal jurisdiction over Satan in the Western District of Pennsylvania. The complaint did not specify Satan's residence, and Weber humorously noted the lack of prior cases involving Satan as a defendant. Weber also mentioned that while the case might technically meet some requirements for a class action under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 23, it was uncertain whether Mayo could adequately represent such a class. Furthermore, Mayo had failed to provide the necessary instructions for serving process, which was another critical procedural oversight. Given these issues, Weber exercised his discretion to deny Mayo's request to proceed in forma pauperis. In other words, the court refused to waive the filing fees, effectively dismissing the case before it could proceed any further. The court's holding was straightforward. Mayo's application to file and proceed in forma pauperis was denied. Judge Weber concluded that even if Mayo's complaint presented a prima facie case of civil rights violations, the practical and jurisdictional challenges were insurmountable. Without a clear way to establish jurisdiction over Satan or serve him with process, the case could not move forward. So what can we take away from United States ex rel. Gerald Mayo v. Satan and his staff? This case stands as a testament to the sometimes bizarre intersections of law and human experience. It highlights the challenges courts face when dealing with pro se litigants and the importance of procedural requirements in the legal system. While Mayo's case was dismissed, it has become a legendary example of the legal system's capacity to entertain even the most unusual claims. It's a reminder that the courts are accessible to all, even if the claims seem outlandish. The case also underscores the necessity of clear legal and procedural grounds for a lawsuit to proceed. Now, let's broaden our scope and look at other instances where individuals have attempted to bring lawsuits against supernatural beings. While Mayo's case is perhaps the most famous, it's not the only one. Throughout history, there have been various attempts to hold supernatural entities legally accountable. For example, in 2008, Nebraska State Senator Ernie Chambers filed a lawsuit against God, seeking a permanent injunction against his harmful activities. Chambers argued that God had made terroristic threats against the senator and his constituents, inspired fear, and caused widespread death and destruction. The case was dismissed due to the inability to properly serve God. In another case, a Romanian prisoner attempted to sue the Romanian Orthodox Church, claiming that his baptism had constituted a binding contract that the church had failed to honor, leading to his criminal behavior. The court dismissed the case, citing the lack of evidence that religious practices could be legally binding contracts. These cases, like Mayo's, often face insurmountable legal and procedural challenges. Jurisdiction, service of process, and the tangible nature of the defendants are major hurdles. However, they capture the imagination and highlight the lengths to which individuals will go to seek justice, even when facing seemingly impossible odds. In conclusion, United States ex rel. Gerald Mayo v. Satan and his staff is more than a quirky footnote in legal history. It's a reflection of the human desire for justice, the complexities of the legal system, and the sometimes surreal nature of the law. Whether dealing with mundane disputes or fantastical claims, the courts remain a venue where every voice can be heard, even if it's a plea against the devil himself. And with that, we conclude our exploration into the case of United States ex rel. Gerald Mayo v. Satan and his staff. Join us in our next venture on Curiosities Obscura, quenching your thirst for curiosity as we continue to showcase the curiosities, oddities, and mysteries that shape our world. Until then, may your curiosity illuminate your path.